we have our first guest at 9 o'clock because he didn't want to fall asleep. I've been waiting to get this guy on the show. And there's a lot of reasons why, but I want to introduce him first because I got a lot to talk to him about because he was wrong. Dead wrong, by the way. We are talking to the owner of Forever Blue Shirts and the Daily Goal Horn, Anthony Scultore. What's going on, Ant?
What's going on, guys? How are you?
I am good. I don't think Josh is any good. I mean, he's got a pregnant wife. I know he loves that, but pregnant wife is a pregnant dice. How's that sound? What are you spinning the dice, right, Speedy? Does that make sense?
I can spin dice.
Yeah,
How does Speedy know anything about getting anybody pregnant in the first place?
I have. Well, leave Speedy alone. Virgins deserve a little bit of less attacks, okay? And he doesn't need one, right, Speedy?
Again, I know where to spin dice. We'll go there.
But are you a virgin?
Yeah, he won't answer the question.
It's less stressful. Leave PD alone.
Yeah.
I mean, I would hope you guys are good enough at context clues to realize that, but okay.
Well,
Anthony, I trust you. Don't worry.
Well, it's time to sleep because we're going to be talking about the Blue Shirts, the Rangers. So, Anthony, I know. I would say almost 7-8 months ago, we were talking about the Rangers, and before the season started, and you really thought that the Rangers were going to be a dangerous team in the what did they call that division this year?
The Mass Mutual East.
Oh, they keep
Errol's
changing
favorite name. Actually, Errol's second favorite name after the Seattle Kraken.
I hate that name, by the way. But that's a whole other story. But you thought the Rangers were going to be a dangerous team. And being that Philadelphia was also a team that you really liked going into the season, but I don't know what happened to their goalie. I fell off the war. This guy was one of the best goalies in the league the year before, and then all of a sudden falls off. Maybe it's the coach, ex-Ranger coach. Who knows? But what were your thoughts going into the season? We kind of, a lot of the fans didn't really hear your thoughts of where the Rangers were going into the season last year. And as the season progressed, what did you see that disturbed you about the team?
Honestly, it was such a tough. You mean you're making preseason predictions on the team based off of what you're seeing from a lineup card and what they did the year before. For the most part, I think it played out as I expected. The Bruins they actually struggled, but they came on really late and they had a ton of games because they also wound up getting a break. It was a COVID break, but they had to shut down for a little bit, so they actually had a bunch of games in hand, which played into their favor towards the end. Matter of fact, they went past the Islanders as well because of those games in hand. I figured if there was any team that might actually stumble a little bit, I thought the Islanders could be, but I kind of thought, what? They made it last year. I was wondering about Pittsburgh, and I was wondering about the Capitals. And with Pittsburgh, I was like, they're an injury away from being knocked out. Like, I mean, if Malkin gets hurt, and Malkin did get hurt, but credit to Pittsburgh, they played some great hockey. Mike Sullivan did a great job, and they won the division. And mind you, that didn't do much for them because they finished where I thought they would, not going too far at all. With the Rangers, though, it's like they struggled out of the gate, and the biggest problem was Zibanejad. Zibanejad got COVID right in camp, and it ruined him, and it put him in a massive slump. And he didn't say anything. He was slumping. He didn't want to give anything to the fact that he had COVID, but he did admit at the end of the season it hurt him. He didn't have his legs. He didn't have his lungs. And a guy who plays with speed, that killed him. And then after even recovering, you're in a slump now. Now you're squeezing your stick too hard. It took him a while. When he did break out of it, he exploded. Then Panarin gets the political hit job, and we lose him for 9 games. Then Igor Shesterkin pulls his groin, and they lose him for a little bit of time. Georgiev started the season off not too great. You had D'Angelo with all that nonsense in the beginning. You know what? They still made a run. They still threatened for the playoffs. But once the injuries to Kreider and Trouba hit at the same time, and they played the Islanders just ran roughshod all over them. And lo and behold, that's probably the main reason why both John Davidson and Jeff Gordon got fired. And David Quinn just took the fall because they had to go. You can't make those two changes, then not change the coach as well. You can't say we're making a change in leadership and go, yeah, but we're going to leave Quinn here. So he took the fall as well. And I think that's really what did the Rangers, was just being too young and not being balanced, just having too many of the same players, too many skilled finesse guys, and not enough guys to grind it out like, the Islanders, to their credit, with the identity line.
So the two lottery picks, the number 1 pick in LaFreniere, number 2 pick in Kakko, both have had stretches where it seemed like they've been slowly developing. Now, again, Kakko, 18 years old when he came in, LaFreniere 19 years old when he came in, very young. And LaFreniere started to come on a little bit in the second half of the season. So what were your impressions of both of their have been with both of their developments so far?
With LaFreniere, big difference from the set, look towards the second half on. Totally different player. And I truly think that he's a top 6 guy now. I know that's crazy to say, but just the way he was playing, his skill set, the Rangers have got to find a way to move him up, move Kreider down. It's really that simple. Panarin's the number 1 left wing on the team. I think Kreider is – you got to get the right guys on the third line, but I think Kreider is perfect for a third line. I don't know what they're going to do yet. There's still a lot of balls up in the air. I think there's a lot of change coming still. I love the Barclay Goodrow signing. I don't know exactly where they're going to play him. I know his contract says $3.6 million. They probably should be playing him on the third line. But don't shake your head that it's not, because he could play the wing on the third line if they get the right center, and you'd have a pretty good line there. I mean, Goodrow had a good season. Not great, but a good season. Plus, he can win faceoffs. If they want him on the fourth line, then what you're saying is that your fourth line is going to start playing more minutes. You can't put guys like that on a fourth line and just let them wallow for 7-8 minutes a game. The Islanders don't do that with the identity line. They play 12, 13 minutes a game. And that's what if you're going to play that way, you got to balance it out. If you're going to go full tilt, for 60 minutes, you need every guy to toe the line. So to me, I think Lafreniere is going to be top 6. And I think Kakko's got all the ability to be a top 6 player. He just needs to be consistent. And that's right now it's a little bit of a big question mark. He's got all the skills, he's got the size, he's got the speed, but is he there all the time, head-wise? Is he going to the net? Is he making the right plays? Got to see that a little bit more.
I think the biggest thing Ranger fans want to know, Anthony, is what's the
story? Hold on,
with...
big fans. You, not say Ranger fans. You want to know.
Can I ask the question first?
Go ahead. You're
like one of my students. You just interrupt before I even finish.
Oh, so now you're comparing me to your kids. Okay.
Compare you to a first grader.
Okay, Papa.
The big thing is about with Jack Eichel. I mean, you're hearing all these things that are being floated around out there. The Raiders are in, the Raiders are out. They're not in. Now Anaheim's in and Anaheim's out. Minnesota's in, but they need a third team. Calgary's out, yada, yada, yada. Then Larry Brooks comes out and he says that they haven't even reviewed the medicals yet. And I saw what you posted today, that if there's a trade that's there or something like that, then, of course, the usual is you that's when you get the medicals, when you get, kind of in a significant ballpark range. What is the latest on that? What's going on there? And is that kind of what the holdup could be for the Raiders all season? Or are they just going to keep going as status quo? Like I heard you say Jordan Martinhook as well, even as an option.
Well, that's a bottom 6 guy, right? That's a fourth line guy. And again, they've had interest in a lot of those guys. Barclay Goodrow, Blake Coleman. I think they targeted Goodrow and they said, this is the guy we got to go get. They made that move and they got his rights, knowing that pretty full well they were going to do whatever it takes to sign that guy. Martinhook is 28, 29. I think it depends on the price, but Martinhook would be a great fourth line guy. But if he's going to start asking for $3-4 million, then that doesn't fit the bill. He's not Barclay Goodrow. He's just not. But he's a great fourth line agitator. Play great forecheck.
Alternate captain too in Carolina as well.
Right. I mean, he wants some leadership. He definitely has that to his repertoire there. Now, when it comes to Jack Eichel, right? So, I mean, Jack Eichel's the biggest story, and people are like, "Why do you keep talking about?" I was like, "How do you not talk about literally the guy was picked second overall behind Connor McDavid, and who every year has gotten better and better at playing in Nowheresville, Buffalo, with nobody. I mean." This season was rough. He still was almost a point-a-game player, and he got a herniated disc, thanks to the Islanders, by the way. So anyway, with that being said, basically the Rangers, and this is Elliot Friedman had this, I don't know, probably in February. The Rangers were the only team that actually made an offer for Eichel.
And I saw the offer too, and it was a lot.
Right. And we don't know. Yeah. Actually, we do not know what the offer was officially. What I could garner, I think it was something along the lines of like a roster player like Strome, possibly. I think it was Kravtsov was the top prospect they wanted to send over. I think Zach Jones or Matthew Robertson was another one they were thinking about sending over. Possibly Philip Hedl was considered in the deal. And the first round pick. They would, no matter what, I think the Rangers are moving this first round pick for something. I don't know what. I think it's part of the Eichel deal if that's what goes down. If it's not the Eichel deal, it could very well be part of a piece that goes for Evgeny Kuznetsov in Washington. It's not the guy I want, but if they want an upgrade for a second line center, Kuznetsov, when his game is on, he's pretty fantastic. And when they won the Cup, he was a key player in that drive to win the Stanley Cup. Eichel would be my preference, but it's true. With the neck injury, you just don't know. I think a lot of what's been going on has been coming out of Buffalo to generate interest. Because in all honesty, first off, he makes $10 million a year. Not many people can afford him. I was told way back in March that the Kings had no interest in adding another $10 million player to the lineup. But the Kings persisted. They kept talking about the Kings until finally John Hoven, who covers the Kings, said, Kings are out. They're not in on him. Okay. And then the Kings go out and get Arvidsson. The Kings are talking about maybe getting somebody else. The Kings are already starting to use up their money, and they won't trade Quentin Byfield or Alex Turcotte. And if you're not trading those guys, then you got no deal. Anaheim was the other team that everyone thought had the prospects and everything. And they said, well, they're out. Now they're circling back in. Who knows what to make of it? The Rangers, like I said, made the offer. They cooled off. When the injury hit, they backed off. I think they also realized they might have been one of the only teams on him, and the demands were ridiculous. So they backed off. And I guess now that we're getting closer to it, and there's probably a little bit more urgency on the Sabres part to get rid of him, okay? I know Buffalo fans are going to be like, well, we still want a King's ransom for him. The guy doesn't want to be there. He makes $10 million a year. It's a flat cap. It's going to be $81.5 million for the next several years. Not many teams can afford him. And he's got a neck issue, and you won't release any medical information. We just know what the surgery he wants, but we don't know how bad the damage is. So nobody knows anything. And now, I think earlier today, his agent, Peter Fish, okay?
What a name.
Who also represented Chris Drury, by the way. Peter Fish said, somebody asked him, how's Jack doing? He was like, my client's doing fine. What'd you expect him to say? He really came up his neck. He's feeling pretty terrible. Like, his agent wasn't going to say anything like that, but, he's a young guy. He's 24. I'm pretty sure that no matter what they decide to do, I think he could recover, and he's a game changer. What happens? Minnesota's supposedly going to make an offer. Maybe Anaheim has circled back. I can't see the Sabres be willing to say to their fan base, yeah, we're not going to trade him. We're going to just hold on to him. We don't know what's going to happen. He's going to be miserable. He may opt out for the whole entire season. We'll have nothing to show for it. And all those promises of commitment that we told you means nothing. At this point, you take the best package you can get. And I think the Rangers have enough prospects and players that they make the most logical sense.